Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, today we're zooming in on something you probably see, maybe use, almost every day, the spreadsheet. For years it's just been there, the quiet workhorse for analysis, for modeling. But get ready, because that whole familiar landscape is really on the edge of a massive transformation. We're going to explore how GPT-5's new agentic automation is set to basically redefine everything we thought we knew about Excel-centered work. Our mission here, in this deep dive, is to really unpack what the GPT-5's Spreadsheet Shocker article calls a huge restructuring event. Every insight, every detail, it's all coming straight from that source material. And look, this isn't just some small update. It feels like a really profound shift in how we'll interact with data. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, it's interesting. For a lot of us in data engineering, Excel, well, traditionally we've seen it as maybe an output format or like a UI. Definitely not a core runtime environment. But that whole perception is changing dramatically. There's this new wave of agentic automation rolling out basically alongside GPT-5, and it's putting spreadsheets right back in the center of how a lot of analytical work actually gets done. And what's really remarkable, I think, are the core capabilities of OpenAI's new agent. I mean, we're talking about an agent that can actually plan complex multi-step tasks. It can browse the web, it can pull data out of different kinds of documents. And this is the key part. It produces fully formed native .xlsx workbooks. We're not just talking simple CSVs here that you still have to clean up manually. No. From what we're seeing in demos and early access reports, this tech can source public data, scrape tricky PDFs, normalize tables, and output these polished, formula-rich spreadsheets, all with minimal human touch. It's kind of wild, actually.
Yeah. Okay, minimal human input. That implies a level of autonomy we haven't really seen before, right? So for companies that lean heavily on spreadsheets, and let's be honest, most of them, you're not just calling this some clever new feature. You're calling it a restructuring event. That sounds significant. Why are you so sure this isn't just, more tech hype? We've heard Excel is dead for years.
It is significant, and it's bold, I know, but it's because the whole architectural approach is fundamentally different this time. It's not just like adding a new button in Excel. It's completely reordering how data flows, how analysis happens.
Okay, that's a great way to put it. And this is where it gets really interesting, I'd say. Let's maybe lay it out side by side.
Yeah.
How do traditional macros and spreadsheets stack up against these new AI agents across some key areas?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like we're looking at two totally different, species of analytical tools.
Exactly. And when you do put them side by side, the differences are just stark, really stark. Take workflow. Traditionally, it's manual, right? Linear. Fragmented ETL, extract, transform, load, often done in different tools, lots of manual steps. AI agents, though, they're autonomous. Multi-step. They provide end-to-end solutions. They handle the whole journey themselves.
Wow. So moving from this chain of separate, often manual tasks to a single smart workflow.
Yeah.
That is a massive shift. How does that impact the actual intelligence, the logic behind it all?
Right. And on logic, traditional spreadsheets depend on rule-based systems, fixed formulas, macros, maybe some VBA code. It's all very explicit, very defined. But the AI agents use LLM-based reasoning, planning. They're essentially using large language models to figure out problems on the fly, to adapt. It's much more dynamic. And think about data sources, your typical spreadsheet. It works with single files, structured data you've already prepped. These AI agents, though, can pull from structured and unstructured data. They can integrate multiple sources, APIs, even scrape the web. Just imagine that kind of reach.
That's a huge expansion in where the data can come from.
Yeah.
Okay, what about something that's always been a pain point with Excel? Scalability.
Oh, yeah. Scalability. Always a headache, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Traditional spreadsheets crash. They have row limits.
Yeah.
They're just not scalable for really big data. But AI agents, they're cloud native. They use dynamic resources, so they're designed to be highly scalable. This isn't just about doing calculations faster. It's fundamentally rethinking what's even possible in a spreadsheet environment. Could, democratize analysis that used to need specialized tools.
Interesting. Okay, and collaboration. Always messy.
Right. Collaboration in the traditional world, often manual, super error-prone, version control hell, basically. We've all been there. With AI agents, you get capabilities like human-in-the-loop oversight, much better auditability, transparent logic. It makes working together smoother and more reliable.
And errors.
Yeah.
Finding them, fixing them.
Error handling is another big one. Traditionally, it demands painstaking manual validation, debugging. It's slow. AI agents, however, are designed with self-correction mechanisms. They can reason about errors, reflect on their steps. That takes a lot of the burden off the human.
Okay, and the final output.
And yeah, the output. Traditional methods usually give you static reports, maybe dashboards, but they still need manual updates, right? AI agents can produce dynamic, decision-ready output, full spreadsheets, comprehensive reports, even presentations. So yeah, like you said, it's not just incremental. It really feels like a complete paradigm shift.
Absolutely a game changer, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So what specific breakthroughs, what core innovations are making this level of agentic stuff possible now? Why is it really different this time?
Well, there are a few key things happening. First, it's this ability to go from natural language straight to a spreadsheet end to end. So you, the user, you just describe what you want, like, give me a monthly spend report by department using these invoices. And the agent handles the whole thing, searching for the data, extracting it, cleaning it, analyzing it, even formatting it nicely. And here's the really critical bit. The output is a native .xlsx up file. It opens right up in Excel or LibreOffice. It's not just a picture of the data or a basic CSV stub that you then have to wrestle with.
That is huge. We've seen AI generate text, but getting a usable native file, that's a big step. What else is enabling this?
Second is the agentic execution on a computer. OpenAI has this thing called a computer using agent, or CUA. It can actually operate GUI apps like Excel inside a sandbox, so it can chain together multiple steps, opening files, transforming data, making charts, saving, iterating, all without you needing to record a macro or write any VBA. It's like it's automating the clicks and keystrokes a person would do, but way faster and at scale.
So it doesn't just understand the request. It actually does it within the software itself. That's way beyond typical AI assistance. Okay, and the third piece.
And the third piece is this powerful combo of research plus action. They call it deep research. The agent doesn't just work with a file you hand it. It can actually plan and carry out multi-step web research. It gathers info from different online sources. And then this is the cool part. It seamlessly passes those structured findings directly to downstream tools, like the spreadsheet generator. It basically closes the loop from discovery all the way to a polished, deliverable spreadsheet.
So it's not just crunching numbers you give it, it's acting like an intelligent research assistant and analyst combined. That just collapses the timeline from question to insight, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the performance numbers mentioned in the article are pretty eye-opening, too. On this benchmark, spreadsheet bench, okay, vendor reported, but still, OpenAI claims its agent hits 45.5% accuracy when it can directly edit spreadsheets. That's more than double what was reported for Copilot for Excel, which was around 20.0%. That's a really notable difference, even if we need independent checks.
Absolutely. And, you know, for years, when people talked about AI in Excel, it meant things like formula auto-completion, maybe a little explainer bot. But these GPT-5 era agents, they bring a completely different pattern of behavior to spreadsheet work. It establishes a whole new baseline, a credible one. I mean, these agents are designed to function autonomously in ways we just haven't seen before. For one, they retrieve upstream context themselves. You don't necessarily need to feed them pre-cleaned CSVs anymore. These agents can go out and search, download, parse source stuff like budget PDFs, government statistical releases, detailed procurement lists. They find the information.
I'd go get that data themselves.
Wow. And then they build first-class Excel artifacts. We're talking named ranges, complex formulas, linking sheets, pivot tables, sophisticated charts, conditional formatting, even like narrative commentary tabs explaining the analysis, all generated without a human touching the keyboard for that part. Think of the hours saved.
Just incredible.
And finally, they can actually schedule and rerun pipelines. So once you define an analysis spec, you know, something like produce the monthly spend dashboard from these particular sources, you can tell the agent to refresh that output regularly, monthly, weekly, whatever. It really starts to blur the line between a static spreadsheet document and an orchestrated automated job.
Yeah, that moves it from being just a document to being a dynamic, living, analytical output.
Yeah.
So let's pivot to the impact. What does all this mean for you, the listener, if you're working with data day-to-day or relying on it in your organization? What are the broader implications here?
Well, the ripple effects, especially for data engineering and analytics teams, they're going to be pretty substantial. First off, expect a huge demand and expectation shift. Your stakeholders, they're going to increasingly expect that ask and it appears kind of turnaround. Ad hoc analysis that might have taken an analyst hours, maybe a whole afternoon, could now be requested and delivered potentially in minutes. Your existing data pipelines, they'll suddenly be measured by time to insight against agents that can whip up publishable workbooks from web data really fast.
Yeah, that's a daunting thought for some data teams. It sounds like work currently handled in pipelines might suddenly shift to being agent-generated.
Exactly. Which leads to the second point. New sources, new mess. Agents will be pulling data from the wild, right? So you can expect a surge in spreadsheet artifacts built from messy PDFs, complex HTML tables, CSVs with weird schemas, all sorts of unpredictable stuff. And these files, they're going to inevitably start flowing into your downstream processes, email attachments, SharePoint, Teams chats, unless you put proper gates and controls in place. You need governance.
Okay, so more spreadsheets, potentially messier data sources. What else?
Well, the failure modes change, and this is critical. We need to worry about silent errors at machine speed. Imagine a single mismapped column or a header misinterpreted by the agent. It could ripple through an entire spreadsheet that looks perfectly polished and plausible. That leads to misplaced trust. There's also the issue of non-determinism. Sometimes the agent might behave slightly differently on different runs, which makes reproducibility a challenge unless you really lock down inputs, prompts, tool versions. And of course, there are risks around security privilege and data egress. An agent that can browse and build might try to access sensitive internal stuff or accidentally leak summarized data if it's not properly constrained.
Silent errors at machine speed. That phrase is genuinely chilling. How do you even guard against that when the output looks so convincing?
That's the multi-million-dollar question for data professionals, isn't it? And finally, we're likely to see major boundary shifts between data engineering and Excel people. Some routine ETL tasks, reshaping data, simple joins, deduplication, things currently done in, say, dbt or PySpark pipelines. For non-critical tasks, an agent-authored workbook might become good enough. Prototyping, initial modeling, that might increasingly start in these agent-built sheets before it gets escalated to the data warehouse, which means your job as a data pro becomes making that escalation path really smooth, cheap, and attractive. You want to pull those valuable insights into your governed data ecosystem.
Okay, that's a lot to take in. And it brings us inevitably to the elephant in the room, job displacement. People are worried. Where do specific tasks get compressed by this? And where do humans still have a clear advantage?
Yeah, it's the uncomfortable question, but we have to address it. Look, spreadsheet-heavy roles aren't going to disappear overnight, but many tasks within those roles absolutely going to be compressed. Think about data cleaning and reshaping inside Excel. All that tedious CSV stitching, column mapping, text-to-columns juggling, VLOOKUPs, XLOOKUPs, date normalization, basic outlier checks. All those hours spent just getting the data ready, a lot of that is prime territory for automation.
Okay, the prep work. What else?
Also, first-pass modeling and dashboards. Building those initial revenue bridges, cohort tables, sensitivity analyses, standard KPI packs, maybe even drafting the executive summary narrative. And a huge amount of just reporting grunt work. Refreshing the monthly pack, reformatting numbers to match the template, copying charts over, saving things as PDFs for distribution. Basically, the repetitive, rule-based work is the most vulnerable here.
That makes intuitive sense.
Yeah.
So where does the human value really shine through? Where are we indispensable, at least for the foreseeable future?
Right. There are definitely areas that remain sticky for humans, at least for now. Things like ambiguity resolution and scoping, deciding what data should be in or out of an analysis, handling complex edge cases where the rules aren't clear, making defensible assumptions when the data is messy or incomplete, that requires judgment. Then there's controls and accountability, performing reconciliation checks, getting official sign-offs, ensuring processes meet regulatory standards like SOX, critically being able to answer why a number changed, that's still very human. And finally, complex cross-system integration, stitching together data from disparate systems, managing things like slow-changing dimensions or tracking data changes over time, CDC, handling late-arriving data, defining robust quality rules at warehouse scale, that's still deep data engineering work.
So judgment, accountability, complex integration.
Exactly, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, yeah, the uncomfortable bit, as the article puts it, is that this automation pressure often hits entry-level work first. Junior analysts, contractors who mostly build templated reports, they'll feel it. But the work itself doesn't just vanish, it rebundles. What we'll probably see is fewer people producing more output, supported by these agents, and alongside them, a crucial layer of human reviewers, curators, and data engineers who own the governance, the guardrails, and define the escalation paths for the really tricky stuff. The human role shifts, more towards oversight, strategy, and handling complexity.
Okay, that framing is helpful. Which brings us to separating the signal from the noise. We've heard about these amazing capabilities, but let's get concrete. What's definitively real right now? What might still be hype or unproven? And what should listeners really keep an eye on as this evolves?
Okay, good breakdown. So, what's real today? We can definitely say end-to-end spreadsheet generation from natural language specs is real, including charts, pivots, formulas, agentic browsing, pulling data from documents, writing files directly, including native.xlsx and even .pptx, using these tool chains that mix reasoning and code execution. That's happening. And per the vendor reports, at least, there are noticeable performance gains over previous AI assistants on specific spreadsheet tasks.
Got it. Core functionality proven. What about the hype side? Where should we be skeptical?
Right. What's still hype, or at least not fully baked? Fire and forget accuracy, especially for critical financial models. You still need tight constraints, validation. Agents can still make stuff up, misinterpret business logic. Also, don't assume universal reliability on complex enterprise templates just yet. Think protected ranges, custom add-ins, specific corporate styles, maybe slow network drives. These things can trip up agent. And crucially, this isn't about the full replacement of spreadsheet labor anytime soon. Expect task displacement first, way before widespread job elimination. And adoption will be moderated by things like governance, regulation, internal change management. It's not flipping a switch overnight.
All right, important caveats. Task displacement, not immediate job replacement, and the need for human oversight. So, looking ahead, what should we be watching closely?
Okay, what to watch? Definitely look for independent third-party replication of benchmark results like Spreadsheet Bench in real-world, messy enterprise settings, not just labs. Keep an eye on the development of enterprise-grade controls. Things like agents that can run on-premise or in your own virtual private cloud for security, robust audit logs, ways to pin specific prompt versions for consistency, role-based access control for internal data sources. That stuff is crucial for adoption.
Makes sense. Any strategic moves companies might consider?
Yeah, strategically, maybe think about building a spec-as code library for your common spreadsheet outputs. Use something like YAML to define the structure, tabs, formulas. Makes it repeatable. Maybe ship lightweight Excel ingestion services tools that watch a folder, automatically parse incoming agent-generated .xlsx files, check them, and log lineage. Or maybe offer an internal agent help desk to proactively help teams convert repetitive spreadsheet tasks into governed agent workflows before shadow AI just pops up everywhere uncontrolled. And pilot agent-ready data products. Publish clean, well-documented data endpoints specifically designed for agents to consume easily, reducing their need to scrape messy sources ad hoc. And it's worth noting, OpenAI's own materials and press coverage make it clear. Spreadsheets are a first-class target for their agent technology stack, even if there isn't a team literally called the Spreadsheets team. They're focused on this.
That's very clear. These agents, they're not waiting politely for an invitation, are they? They're already showing up in trials, pilots, maybe in your exec's inbox, producing these glossy spreadsheets that, on the surface, often look good enough.
That's exactly right. So your job, if you work with data, is really to make the safe path the easy path. Provide the right patterns, set up the guardrails, create that frictionless on-ramp to get those initial agent drafts reviewed, validated, and integrated into your properly governed data products. This isn't just, Excel making a comeback. It's actually a massive opportunity, a chance to pull analysis that might have been hidden in silos, shadow analysis out into the light, to bring real observability, reproducibility, and ultimately trust to it.
Yeah. As we wrap up this deep dive, it's worth remembering what remains distinctly human in all of this automation. It's deciding what to measure in the first place and why it actually matters to the business. It's negotiating definitions across different teams, finance, sales, product, so that a key metric means the same thing everywhere. That's hard human work. It's designing the controls, the checks and balances that make errors obvious, not invisible. And maybe most importantly, it's telling the story, translating all those rows and columns, all that data, into actionable insights, into something that drives real decisions and impact. That ability to synthesize, contextualize, and communicate, that's the human superpower here that no agent, no matter how smart, can replace. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.